Hello, and welcome to this analysis of Vernon Scannell's poem Hide and Seek. Now, on the surface, this poem appears to be a simple, playful depiction of a childhood game, but beneath the surface, it functions as a powerful extended metaphor for the anxieties, aspirations, and disappointments even of childhood. The narrative details a child's experience from initially being very confident and excited and wanting to win to devastating isolation. But before we delve into the poem too much, let's have a quick look at the poet's background. So, Vernon Scannell, who lived from 1922 to 2007, was a British poet whose life was marked by lots of personal hardship. He served in the British Army during World War II, fighting in the North African desert, but was later court martialed for desertion. And as a result, he spent 6 years in prison. And this history of conflict, vulnerability, and hostility really influenced his writing, which often focuses on the themes of injustice and cruelty. It's worth knowing that Hide and Seek is published in a collection called Walking Wounded, and this collection mainly dealt with the psychological impact of war and themes of isolation, abandonment. Knowing this, many people tend to see this poem as paralleling a soldier hiding from the enemy, transforming the child's hiding spot into a place of profound danger. So let's take a listen to the poem, and then we can start to analyze it. Call out, call loud. I'm ready. Come and find me. The sacks in the tool shed smell like the seaside. They'll never find you in this salty dark. But be careful that your feet aren't sticking out. Wiser not to risk another shout. The floor is cold. They'll probably be searching the bushes near the swing. Whatever happens, you mustn't sneeze when they come prowling in. And here they are, whispering at the door. You've never heard them sound so hushed before. Don't breathe. Don't move. Stay dumb. Hide in your blindness. They're moving closer. Someone stumbles, mutters. Their words and laughter scuffle, and they're gone. But don't come out just yet. They'll try the lane and then the greenhouse and back here again. They must be thinking that you're very clever, getting more puzzled as they search all over. It seems a long time since they went away. Your legs are stiff. The cold bites through your coat. The dark, damp smell of sand moves in your throat. It's time to let them know that you're the winner. Push off the sacks, uncurl and stretch, that's better. Out of the shed and call to them, I've won. Here I am. Come and own up, I've caught you. The darkening garden watches. Nothing stirs. The bushes hold their breath. The sun is gone. Yes, here you are. But where are they who sought you? Okay, so let's start at the beginning here. So what's happening, first of all, is we're thrust right into the middle of the action in a technique called in media res, which immediately establishes an excited tone. The first lines use repetition and exclamatory sentences like call out, call loud, I'm ready. And these linguistic features build up the reader's anticipation and show the child's intense excitement and readiness to play and especially to win. It's also a little odd if you think about it because usually it's the one who is seeking who calls out, not the one who's hiding. Here the child's location sounds initially very positive. Scannell uses a simile and sibilance in the phrase, the sacks in the tool shed smell like the seaside. I think the sibilant sack smells seaside really emphasize the sensory seaside atmosphere, and the simile associates the drab shed with joy and play. The child also sounds confident as they describe the setting, using hyperbolic phrases like, they'll never find you in this salty dark. And the term salty dark I really like because it's a rather sensory metaphor that combines sight and taste, really highlighting how alert the child's senses are. And when we mix senses like this, it's a fantastic technique called synesthesia. It's worth noting that the child here also speaks in real time, and we hear everything they're thinking or saying in a technique known as stream of conscience. The mood, however, quickly pivots away from enthusiasm to a little bit of caution and rising tension. The voice shifts to give some advice that uses imperatives to make it sound a bit more commanding, but be careful, your feet aren't sticking out. And this immediately evokes a slight sense of caution, which is followed by a physical change in the description of the setting. Now we are told the floor is cold. And this short declarative sentence highlights the uncomfortable nature of the hiding spot, while the caesura, or punctuation midline, reflects the child pausing, and keeping still. Note also how the child's thoughts are quite jumbled here, which could reflect their excitement and how much they're on edge. Before, the child was confident that they'll never find you, but now we're told they will probably be searching the bushes near the swing, which introduces some doubt. The searchers are depicted ominously using a technique called zoomorphism, which is a kind of metaphor, as they come prowling in. And this technique creates a tense predator-prey dynamic, making the child seem a little bit vulnerable. The tension grows further as the searchers are heard whispering at the door. This quiet, secretive atmosphere contrasts with the bold, confident calls at the beginning. I like how we don't know exactly who is looking for the child by saying they, the speaker's creating an anonymous, numberless group, which I feel makes the hunt slightly more eerie. At this stage, though, I think the child is still excited by this tension and the fact they might get caught. Note too here how the poet uses the second person pronoun you, which shows the speaker using an internal dialogue. This creates a sense of universality, suggesting that this traumatic experience of vulnerability is perhaps something we all share as humans. So next up, we see some very short imperatives and more caesura. Don't breathe, don't move, stay dumb. The short sentence structure here, or simple syntax, mimics the child's pounding heartbeat. The instruction, hide in your blindness, is, I think, a really good metaphor. It refers to the darkness of the shed, but also hints at the child's obliviousness or lack of self-awareness about their true vulnerable state. For me, this line also starts to hint at something beyond just the game of hide and seek. Next, the searchers stumble, and we hear their words and laughter scuffle, and they're gone. The child, believing they're still playing, holds on to a momentary return to confidence, thinking they are very clever. Note also there's lots of caesura here as this punctuation breaks up the rhythm of the lines, reflecting, I think, the twitchy, nervy feel of the child. Ending the line, and they're gone, with a full stop, also makes us pause, just like the child waiting to see if they will be coming back again. The child still seems quite confident here, congratulating themselves as they imagine the friends thinking that you're very clever. At this point, there's a voltar, or change in the poem. The child realizes that nobody is coming to find him, and then, or her, and the tone shifts to discomfort and isolation. While the setting at the start was described positively, we now learn that the cold bites through your coat. And this rather sinister image and use of personification suggests the cold is actively attacking the child. Similarly, the comforting smells from before are now oppressive, as seen in the line, the dark, damp smell of sand moves in your throat. And this imagery, using really good alliteration, dark, damp, suggests discomfort and maybe even suffocation. Despite all this, the child decides it's time to declare themselves the winner as they emerge shouting triumphantly, I've won, here I am, I've caught you. They still sound positive, look at all those exclamation marks, but tellingly the child is talking to themselves. Nobody replies. Because of this, you could argue that the volta or turn actually comes much farther down the poem. This shout of victory and positiveness is thwarted, however, by the reality of the situation. We now see that the setting reflects the child's internal state through the use of pathetic fallacy and personification. It's cold, and the darkening garden watches creates a sinister, isolated atmosphere where the environment seems to be observing the child's misfortune. The bushes hold their breath. Sounds like the child earlier on holding their breath, so they're not heard. But now this silence is far more eerie. And there's more pathetic fallacy in the phrase, the sun is gone, which evokes a sense of loss. The poem concludes with a peculiar and haunting rhetorical question. Yes, here you are, but where are they who sought you? This final interrogative sentence emphasizes the lonely reality of abandonment and the shift from certainty to vulnerability and isolation. Now, the poem's form and structure are really central, so it's really worth spending a bit of time talking about this. In terms of structure, it's written in one long stanza of 27 lines, and I think this is quite deliberate as it helps Scannell build the rising tension as we realize something's gone wrong. The fact that the shift from a game to isolation happens suddenly without a stanza break also, I feel, makes this even more shocking and surprising. The poem's largely written in iambic pentameter, which could mimic the child's excited heartbeat, the da-dum, 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 or rigid adherence to the game's rules. Iambic, you may recall, is where you have an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed one, very much like a heartbeat. The poem uses occasional rhyme, with certain lines forming rhyming couplets, like in lines 4 and 5, the out and shout. However, the rhyme scheme is inconsistent, which I think gives the poem an additional feel of uncertainty. It's worth noting that when the child realizes they've been abandoned, the rhyme scheme breaks down completely. And this sense of unpredictability, which can also be seen, I think, in the poem's punctuation, shows the use of frequent caesura and short end-stop sentences that build tension and create moments of stillness, culminating in the silent, lonely atmosphere at the end. In addition to this, the poem looks at several themes. The theme of childhood or childlike innocence and vulnerability is clear as the poem captures the excitement of childhood, but shows how easily that innocence can be shattered. There's also a sense of isolation, withdrawal, and abandonment. The child seeking triumph is instead met with silence and the bitter realization that they've been forgotten by their friends. We could take this abandonment further and say it's an extended metaphor for life's opportunities. The poem is often read as an allegory, emphasizing the importance of seizing opportunity. The child who waits too long to reveal their victory misses the chance entirely, showing that overconfidence can lead to disillusionment. So overall, hide and seek uses a childhood game as a way to deliver a painful message. The confidence we rely on can quickly dissolve into solitary, chilling realizations that we've been left alone. The poem leaves us, like the child, pondering some big unanswered questions, emphasizing that loneliness sometimes can come with what we believe may be a hard-won victory. Thank you for joining in with this analysis. If you found it useful, please feel free to comment or subscribe.